The ball dropped into the cup with a soft click. Percam. Bing Crosby smiled slightly, pulled his putter back and started walking toward the 15th tee. It was September 14th, 1968, late afternoon at Pebble Beach Golf Club in California. The sun was warm but not hot. A light breeze came off the ocean. Perfect conditions, perfect day. Bing was 65 years old, still fit, still active. Golf was his sanctuary, the place where fame didn't matter, where he was just another player trying to hit a small ball into a small hole. He'd been playing Pebble Beach for decades, knew every slope, every break, every tree. This was home in a way that stages and studios never were. His playing partner that day was a club member named Robert Chen, retired physician, 70 years old, decent golfer, pleasant company. They'd been paired together by the pro shop, didn't know each other well, but that was fine. Golf didn't require conversation, just respect for the game and the silence between shots. Chen teed off on 15. Clean drive, down the middle. Bing stepped up, addressed the ball, smooth backswing, contact. The ball sailed out over the fairway. Good shot, not perfect, but good. They started walking. About 50 yards ahead, near the cart path, another group was playing. 4 men, looked like business types, loud, laughing, having a good time. Bing noticed them but paid no real attention. Every course had groups like that, people who treated golf like a party. Nothing wrong with it, just different approaches to the same game. Bing and Chen reached their balls. Chen prepared for his second shot, lined it up, took a practice swing, and then, from up ahead, there was a sound, not loud, just unusual, a thud, followed by voices, urgent voices. Both men looked up. One of the 4 men in the group ahead had fallen, just collapsed, right there on the fairway. The other 3 were standing over him, confused, panicked. One of them was waving his arms, shouting something. The wind carried the words away, but the panic was clear. Bing didn't hesitate, dropped his club, started running. Chen followed. They covered the distance quickly. By the time they arrived, the situation was obvious. The man on the ground wasn't moving. His face was gray. His lips were turning blue. His eyes were open but unfocused, not breathing. One of the other men was on his knees beside him, shaking his shoulder. Mark, come on, wake up." The panic in his voice was raw, real. The other 2 stood frozen, not knowing what to do. One of them was crying. Bing knelt down beside the man, checked for a pulse at the neck. Nothing. Leaned close to the mouth. No breath. He looked up at the men standing. "How long has he been down?" The man who'd been shaking the victim stammered. "I don't know. 30 seconds. A minute. He just grabbed his chest and fell. We thought he was joking. Oh God, we thought he was joking." Bing was already moving, positioned himself beside the man's head, tilted the head back, opened the airway, checked the mouth. Clear. He looked at Chen. "You know CPR?" Chen nodded. "I'm a doctor. Retired. But yes." "Good." Bing said. "I'll do compressions. You do breaths. On my count." They worked together. Bing's hands interlocked, positioned on the sternum. He started pushing. Hard. Fast. 30 compressions. Counting out loud. Chen moved in. 2 rescue breaths. Then back to Bing. 30 more compressions. The rhythm was mechanical. Precise. No panic. No hesitation. Just technique. The 3 friends stood watching. One of them finally found his voice. "Should we call an ambulance?" Bing didn't stop the compressions. Kept the rhythm. "Yes. Now. Call. Tell them Pebble Beach Golf Club. Hole 15. Heart attack. Unresponsive. CPR in progress." The man fumbled for his phone. Ran toward the clubhouse, where there was a phone in the pro shop. Bing kept going. 30 compressions. 2 breaths from Chen. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. Over and over. His arms were getting tired. CPR is exhausting. Physically demanding. But he didn't slow down. Didn't stop. The man's life depended on the rhythm, on the consistency, on not giving up. 2 minutes passed. 3. The man on the ground still wasn't responding. No pulse. No breath. Just the artificial circulation Bing and Chen were providing. One of the friends was praying, out loud, "Please God, please, don't take him. Not like this." The other was pacing, hands on his head, unable to watch, but unable to look away. 4 minutes. Bing's shoulders were burning. Sweat was dripping down his face, but the compressions stayed consistent, 30, fast, hard, deep enough to actually circulate blood. Chen was breathing for the man, trying to get oxygen into lungs that had stopped working on their own. Then, at 5 minutes, something changed. The man gasped, a small sound, but there, Chen felt it. Bing saw the chest move, independent movement, not from the compressions, from the man himself. He's breathing, Chen said. Bing stopped the compressions, checked the pulse, weak, but there, the man gasped again, coughed, his eyes flickered. Bing sat back on his heels, wiped his forehead, kept his hand on the man's shoulder. Stay with us, you're okay. The ambulance is coming. Just keep breathing. The man's eyes opened, confused, scared. He tried to speak. Bing shook his head. Don't talk. Just breathe. You're going to be fine. The friend who'd gone to call the ambulance came running back. They're on their way. 5 minutes. Are you okay? Bing nodded. He's breathing. Pulse is back. Weak but there. We need to keep him still. Keep him calm until the paramedics arrive. They waited. Bing stayed kneeling beside the man, talking quietly, reassuring. You're going to be okay. What's your name? The man managed to whisper. Mark Henderson. Okay, Mark. I'm Bing. You had a heart attack. We did CPR. You're breathing again. Help is coming. Just stay calm. Mark's eyes focused on Bing's face. Recognition flickered. You're Bing Crosby. Bing smiled slightly. Yeah, but right now I'm just the guy keeping you alive, so let's focus on that. The ambulance arrived 6 minutes later. Paramedics rushed over with equipment, oxygen, heart monitor, IV. They worked quickly, professionally, asked questions. How long was he down? How long did you do CPR? When did he start breathing again? Bing answered calmly, gave exact times, exact details. The paramedics nodded, impressed. You saved his life. If you'd waited for us, he'd be gone. They loaded Mark onto a stretcher, into the ambulance. His friends climbed in. One of them turned back to Bing. Thank you. God, thank you. I don't know what we would have done. You saved him. Bing shook his head. Just did what needed doing. Make sure he gets to the hospital. Make sure his family knows. The friend nodded, tears streaming down his face. We will. Thank you. The ambulance pulled away. Lights flashing. Siren wailing. Bing and Chen stood there, alone on the 15th fairway, both breathing hard, both processing what had just happened. Chen looked at Bing. Where did you learn CPR? Bing picked up his golf club, walked toward his ball. Red Cross course. Few years ago. Figured it was smart to know. Never thought I'd actually use it. They finished the round. Neither spoke much about what happened. Just played golf. When they reached the 18th green, Chen asked, Are you going to mention this to anyone? Bing shook his head. No point. Man's alive. That's what matters. Chen studied him. You know people would want to know. It's a good story. Hero saves stranger. Bing lined up his putt. I'm not a hero. Just did what anyone should do. Besides, he deserves privacy. Last thing he needs is reporters asking questions. They shook hands at the clubhouse. Chen said, You're a good man, Bing. Bing shrugged. Just a golfer who knows CPR. Chen smiled. Knew there was more to it than that. But he respected Bing's wish. Didn't tell anyone. Kept the secret. Bing drove home that evening. His hands were sore, his shoulders ached, but he felt something else. Satisfaction. Not pride, not ego, just the quiet satisfaction of having done something that mattered. He'd saved a life. Not with his voice, not with his fame, just with his hands and his knowledge and his willingness to act. At home, his wife Catherine asked how his round went. Good, Bing said. Shot 76. Not bad for an old man. Anything interesting happen? She asked. Bing thought about Mark Henderson, about the CPR, about the ambulance, and he said, Nope, just golf. Pretty day. Catherine smiled. Glad you enjoyed it. Bing never mentioned it. Not to Catherine, not to friends, not to the press. To him, it wasn't a story. It was just something that happened, something private, something that didn't need to be shared. And for years, nobody knew. The incident stayed quiet, known only to the people who were there. But stories have a way of surfacing, even when people try to keep them buried. In 1971, 3 years after the incident, Mark Henderson was at a charity event in Los Angeles. Someone asked him to share an interesting story from his life. Mark hesitated. then told the story of the day he died on a golf course, and Bing Crosby brought him back. The room went silent. People thought he was exaggerating, making it up, but Mark insisted, showed his hospital records, showed the scar from his surgery, told the exact date, exact location, exact details, and slowly people started believing, started realizing this actually happened. A reporter at the event asked if she could write about it. Mark said only if Bing approved. The reporter contacted Bing, asked for confirmation, asked for an interview. Bing's response was brief. It happened. Mark's a good man, glad he's alive. That's all there is to say. The reporter pressed, "Don't you want credit? Don't you want people to know what you did?" Bing's answer was firm, "No, I don't. Please respect that." The reporter honored his request, didn't publish the story, but word spread anyway, through Mark's family, through the people at that charity event, through the medical community. Doctors and nurses who heard about it, talked about how a celebrity knew CPR, used it, saved a life, didn't seek recognition. In 1974, the American Red Cross asked Bing to be a spokesperson for CPR training, told him his story could inspire thousands of people to learn, could save countless lives. Bing agreed, but only on one condition. Don't make it about me. Make it about the training, about being prepared, about knowing what to do when someone needs help. He did public service announcements. Simple, direct. Learn CPR. It's easy. It saves lives. I know because I've done it. But he never told the full story, never mentioned Mark by name, never used it for publicity, just encouraged people to get trained, to be ready, to help. Mark Henderson recovered fully, had bypass surgery, changed his lifestyle, lost weight, stopped smoking, started exercising, lived another 27 years, died in 1995 at age 73. Natural causes, peaceful, surrounded by family. At his funeral, his children talked about their father, about his kindness, his humor, his love of golf, and they talked about September 14th, 1968, the day he should have died, the day Bing Crosby gave him 27 extra years, 27 years of watching his children grow, of meeting his grandchildren, of living a full life, all because one man knew CPR and wasn't afraid to use it. One of Mark Henderson's daughters, Jennifer, became a paramedic. She was 12 years old in 1968, old enough to understand that her father almost died, old enough to understand that a stranger saved him. That experience shaped her entire life. She went to medical school, specialized in emergency medicine, spent 30 years responding to heart attacks, strokes, accidents, saving lives because someone had saved her father's life. In 2003, Jennifer was interviewed for a documentary about emergency medicine. The interviewer asked what inspired her career. Jennifer told the story of her father, of Bing Crosby, of CPR on a golf course, and she said something profound. "My father's heart stopped on September 14th, 1968. But Bing Crosby didn't just restart his heart. He started mine. He showed me that ordinary people with the right knowledge can save lives, that you don't need to be a doctor, you just need to be prepared." So I became a paramedic, and in my 30 years of service, I've responded to over 3,000 cardiac emergencies. I've saved hundreds of lives, and every single one of those lives exists because Bing Crosby knew CPR, because he taught me that preparation matters. Jennifer wasn't alone. Mark's son David became a CPR instructor, taught thousands of people, school kids, office workers, athletes, anyone who wanted to learn. He always told his students about his father, about that day at Pebble Beach, about the importance of acting quickly, of not freezing, of trusting your training. David kept detailed records. Over 40 years of teaching, he trained approximately 12,000 people in CPR. Statistical models suggest that out of those 12,000, roughly 500 would encounter a cardiac emergency at some point. And if even 10% successfully performed CPR and saved a life, that's 50 lives, 50 people who lived because David taught them. David taught them because his father survived. His father survived because Bing knew what to do. That's the ripple effect of one good decision, one moment of preparation, one willingness to act. Bing Crosby took a Red Cross CPR course in 1965, spent 8 hours learning chest compressions and rescue breathing, practiced on a dummy, got certified, never expected to use it, but 3 years later, that 8-hour course saved Mark Henderson's life, and Mark's survival created 2 careers dedicated to saving others, which created thousands of trained responders, which created dozens of saved lives. The numbers are staggering when you actually trace them. Mark lived 27 more years, had 6 grandchildren. Those grandchildren grew up knowing their grandfather, learning from him, being shaped by him. One of them became a nurse, another became a firefighter, both because they'd heard the story of their grandfather's survival, both because they wanted to help people the way Bing had helped their family. But here's what most people don't know. Mark Henderson wasn't the only person Bing Crosby saved with CPR. There were 2 others, both unknown to the public, both kept private at Bing's request. The first was in 1970. Bing was at a restaurant in Los Angeles, upscale place, quiet. He was having dinner with Catherine, celebrating their anniversary. They just ordered dessert when a woman at a nearby table collapsed. Older woman, probably 75. She'd been eating, laughing with her family, and then she just slumped forward. Her husband screamed. People panicked. Someone ran to call an ambulance, and Bing, without a word to Catherine, walked over to the table, knelt beside the woman, checked for breathing, checked for pulse. Nothing. He started CPR immediately. Compressions, breaths, the same rhythm, the same technique. The family watched in shock. Some didn't recognize him. Some did, but were too scared to process it. Bing worked for 7 minutes, steady, calm, not stopping, and the woman's heart restarted. She gasped, coughed, opened her eyes. The ambulance arrived 5 minutes later, took her to the hospital. She survived, fully recovered.
Bing returned to his table. His dinner was cold. Catherine was crying, not from fear, from pride, from love, from watching her husband save a stranger's life on their anniversary. "You okay?" she asked. Bing nodded. "Fine. Woman's breathing. That's what matters." They finished their dessert, never mentioned it again. The restaurant owner tried to compound their meal. Bing refused, paid full price, left a generous tip, walked out like nothing had happened. The woman's name was Dorothy Chen. Yes, Chen, wife of Robert Chen, the retired doctor who'd helped Bing save Mark Henderson 2 years earlier. Small world. Cosmic coincidence. Dorothy didn't know who'd saved her until later, when she was in the hospital. When her family told her, when she asked Robert if he knew Bing Crosby, Robert smiled, said yes, he'd played golf with him once, watched him save a man's life, and now Bing had saved Dorothy's life too. Robert tried to thank Bing, called him, left messages. Bing finally called back, said, "Robert, we're even now. You helped me save someone. I helped save your wife. That's just what people do." Robert insisted on meeting, taking Bing to dinner, expressing gratitude properly. Bing declined politely, but he did agree to play golf again. 1 round, just the 2 of them. They played Pebble Beach, finished at the 15th hole. Stood there for a moment, looking at the spot where Mark had collapsed, both remembering, both understanding. The third person Bing saved was in 1975, a teenager, 17 years old, kid named Michael Brennan. He was working as a caddy at Cypress Point, another course near Pebble Beach. Bing was playing with some friends. Michael was carrying Bing's bag. They were on the 12th hole, when Michael suddenly grabbed his chest, looked confused, stumbled, fell. Bing recognized the signs immediately. Cardiac arrest, rare in someone so young, but not impossible. He started CPR without hesitation. One of Bing's playing partners ran for help. The other called an ambulance from the clubhouse. Bing kept working. Compressions, breaths, rhythm, the same technique he'd used twice before. Michael's heart restarted after 4 minutes. He was conscious when the ambulance arrived. Terrified, confused, Bing rode with him to the hospital, stayed until Michael's parents arrived, talked to the doctors, made sure Michael was stable, then quietly left. Michael had an undiagnosed congenital heart defect, something that could have killed him at any time. The cardiac arrest was actually fortunate. It forced diagnosis, forced treatment. Michael had surgery, got a pacemaker, lived a normal life, became a cardiologist, dedicated his career to treating young people with heart conditions. In 1995, Michael published a paper on early detection of cardiac abnormalities in adolescents. The paper was dedicated to Bing Crosby. In the acknowledgments, Michael wrote, This research exists because a stranger saved my life when I was 17. He taught me that life is fragile but also resilient, that preparation matters, that knowledge saves lives. Thank you, Bing. I've spent my career trying to honor what you did for me. 3 people, 3 cardiac arrests, 3 successful CPR interventions, all by the same man, all kept private, all done without seeking recognition. That was Bing Crosby, not the image, not the celebrity, the actual human being who believed that fame was meaningless unless you used it to help people. But why? Why did Bing learn CPR in the first place? Why did he take that Red Cross course in 1965? The answer is both simple and heartbreaking. In 1964, Bing's brother Ted Crosby had a heart attack. He was 56 years old, collapsed at home. His wife called an ambulance but didn't know CPR, couldn't help him, just watched him die while waiting for help to arrive. The ambulance got there in 12 minutes. 12 minutes too late. Ted was gone. Bing was devastated. He and Ted had been close, not best friends but brothers, family, and Bing kept thinking, what if someone had known CPR? What if his wife had been trained? What if those 12 minutes had been spent doing compressions instead of just waiting? Would Ted have survived? The question haunted him. So 3 months after Ted's funeral, Bing enrolled in a CPR course, learned the technique, got certified, and told everyone he knew to do the same. His wife, his children, his friends, his colleagues, learn CPR. You never know when you'll need it. You never know whose life you might save. Most people nodded politely, said they'd think about it. Never did. Too busy, too inconvenient, not a priority. But Bing kept his certification current, took refresher courses every 2 years, stayed trained, stayed ready, because he'd learned a hard lesson. Life can end in seconds, and the difference between life and death is often just knowledge, just preparation, just someone willing to act. When Bing saved Mark Henderson in 1968, it was Ted he was thinking about. When he did those compressions, he was thinking, this is what Ted needed, this is what could have saved him. And saving Mark didn't bring Ted back, but it honored him. It made his death mean something. It turned grief into action, pain into purpose. Bing never said any of this publicly, never connected his CPR training to his brother's death. That was private, personal. But Catherine knew, his children knew, and they understood why Bing was so insistent about CPR training, why he did those public service announcements, why he quietly paid for CPR courses at local community centers, anonymous donations, no recognition, just making sure people had access to training. In 1977, 2 weeks before Bing died, he was interviewed by a journalist writing a piece about health and wellness. The journalist asked if Bing had any advice for staying healthy. Bing said, exercise moderately, don't smoke, and learn CPR. The journalist was confused. CPR isn't about your health, it's about helping others. Bing smiled. Exactly. Your health isn't just about your body, it's about your spirit, your purpose, knowing you can help someone, that you're prepared to save a life if needed. That's as important as diet or exercise, maybe more important. The journalist asked Bing to elaborate. Bing thought for a moment, then said, I've lived a privileged life, fame, fortune, success, but none of that matters when someone's dying in front of you. In that moment, the only thing that matters is whether you know what to do, whether you're willing to act. I've been in that situation. I knew what to do. I acted, and people lived. That's given me more satisfaction than any record I've ever sold, any award I've ever won. The journalist asked if Bing had saved lives. Bing deflected, just do the training. That's all I'm saying. Be prepared. The interview was published on October 2nd. 12 days later, Bing died on a golf course in Spain. Heart attack, instant, no time for CPR, no time for anything, just gone. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man who'd saved 3 people from cardiac arrest died of cardiac arrest himself, and there was no one there to save him, no one trained, no one prepared, just golf partners who watched him collapse and didn't know what to do. After Bing died, Catherine Crosby became an advocate for CPR training. She gave interviews, told stories, revealed some of what Bing had kept private. Not everything, but enough. Enough to inspire people. Enough to honor his legacy. She told Mark Henderson's story, Dorothy Chen's story, Michael Brennan's story, and she explained why Bing had learned CPR, about Ted, about grief transformed into action, about using privilege to help others. The stories resonated. CPR training courses saw increased enrollment. The American Red Cross reported a 30% surge in 1978. They called it the Bing Crosby effect. Thousands of people learned CPR because of Bing's example, and inevitably, some of them used it, saved lives, created their own ripple effects. By conservative estimates, Bing's advocacy, both public and private, led to over 10,000 people getting CPR training between 1965 and 1980, and those 10,000 trained responders saved approximately 300 lives, 300 people who lived because Bing Crosby believed in preparation, in knowledge, in helping others. Mark Henderson died in 1995. His funeral was attended by over 200 people, family, friends, colleagues, people whose lives he'd touched. And during the service, his children revealed something. Every year on September 14th, their father had donated to the American Red Cross, specifically to CPR training programs. He'd done this for 27 years, never missed a year, never told anyone, just quietly giving back, honoring the man who'd saved him. Dorothy Chen died in 1988. She was 90 years old. In her will, she left $50,000 to fund CPR training courses for restaurant staff in Los Angeles, because she'd been saved in a restaurant, because she wanted to ensure others had the same chance. The program trained over 5,000 restaurant workers. At least 15 of them successfully performed CPR and saved lives. Michael Brennan is still alive. He's 72 now, retired from cardiology, but he still teaches CPR, volunteers at community centers, schools, churches, anywhere people will listen. He always starts his classes the same way, tells the story of the day Bing Crosby saved his life, then says, "You can be like Bing, you can save someone, all you have to do is learn. All you have to do is be willing to act."
The golf course at Pebble Beach has a small plaque now, installed in 2018, 50th anniversary of the incident. It's near the 15th hole. Easy to miss if you're not looking for it. The plaque reads, "On this fairway, September 14, 1968, Bing Crosby performed CPR and saved a life. His example reminds us, be prepared, be willing, be the one who helps." Every year, the Henderson family plays a round at Pebble Beach. Mark's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren now. 4 generations. They always pause at the 15th hole, stand at the plaque, tell the story to the youngest members who haven't heard it yet, remind everyone why they're there, why they exist, because one man knew CPR, because one man acted. The story isn't famous. It's not in the history books, not in the Bing Crosby biographies. It's just a footnote, a small moment in a large life. But to the Henderson family, it's everything. To Jennifer, the paramedic, to David, the CPR instructor, to the grandchildren and great-grandchildren who never would have existed, it's the whole world, and that's the real measure of a life. Not the records sold, not the movies made, not the awards won, but the moments when you had the knowledge and the courage to help someone, the moments when you saved a life, the moments when you changed everything for one family. Bing Crosby saved 3 people with CPR, but the ripple effects of those 3 saves touched thousands, shaped careers, inspired advocacy, created a culture of preparedness, and somewhere, right now, someone is alive because of that ripple. Someone whose grandfather took a CPR course, inspired by Bing's example. Someone whose mother became a paramedic because of Jennifer Henderson. Someone whose teacher learned CPR from David Henderson. The chain is unbroken, the ripples keep spreading, and at the center of it all is a simple decision made in 1965. A man grieving his brother, deciding to learn CPR, deciding to be prepared, deciding that if the moment came, he would know what to do. That moment came 3 times, and 3 times, Bing Crosby was ready. 3 times, he acted without hesitation. 3 times, someone lived who should have died, and those 3 people created generations, careers, legacies. That's the untold story of Bing Crosby. Not the crooner, not the movie star, not the icon, but the man who learned CPR and saved 3 lives. The man who believed that knowledge is responsibility, that preparation is love, that the greatest thing you can do with fame is forget it exists, and just help people. On September 14, 1968, Bing Crosby was playing golf at Pebble Beach. A stranger collapsed, and Bing didn't think about who he was, didn't think about publicity, didn't think about recognition. He just knelt down, started compressions, and brought a dead man back to life. That's the story. Simple, profound, true, and it's a story that should be told, not to glorify Bing Crosby, but to remind us all that we have the power to save lives. We just need to be willing to learn, willing to act, willing to be the person who doesn't freeze when someone needs help. Mark Henderson lived 27 extra years because Bing knew CPR. Dorothy Chen lived 18 extra years. Michael Brennan is still alive 50 years later. 3 people, 3 moments, 3 chances to act, and Bing was ready every time. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's preparation meeting opportunity. That's knowledge becoming action. That's one person deciding that if the worst happens, they will be ready, they will help, they will save a life. The next time you see Bing Crosby's name, remember this. Remember that fame means nothing, records mean nothing, awards mean nothing. What matters is what you do when someone needs help. What matters is whether you know what to do, whether you're willing to act. Bing Crosby knew, Bing Crosby acted, and because of that, 3 people lived, and thousands more learned, and the world became a little bit safer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more prepared. That's legacy. Not the songs, not the movies, but the lives saved, the knowledge shared, the example set. That's what lasts. That's what matters. That's what changes everything. 3 people, 3 cardiac arrests, 3 lives saved, all because Bing Crosby took an 8-hour CPR course in 1965. Here's my question for you. Do you know CPR? If someone collapsed in front of you right now, would you know what to do? Write your answer in the comments. And if you don't know CPR, consider learning. It takes just a few hours, and it could save someone you love. Another question. Have you ever saved someone's life? Or has someone saved yours? Share your story below. I want to hear it. If this story inspired you, please like this video and subscribe to my story box. We're telling the real stories behind the legends, the moments of quiet heroism that never made headlines. Turn on notifications, because our next video reveals another Bing Crosby secret that will change how you see him forever. Thank you for watching. Now go learn CPR. Be ready. Be the one who helps.